One wonder, Stuart, are Arsenal wobbling? Looks like it.
Well, when we've put teams up against, when I say we in recent years, I'm talking West Ham, when we've put teams up against Arsenal, this has probably been arguably the best half hour they've played against West Ham, and probably the worst hour after that, you know. So I've never seen so many Arsenal players this season play so badly. Gabriel refusing to give the ball back to his goalkeeper when it was clearly on to snuff out any form of attack. Partey was awful as well. Saka almost semi-non-existent, and these players have been the mainstay. I don't know what influenced the performance, but I still think I still fancy him to win the title, though.
You still think they'll do it?
Yeah, I think the big game will be Newcastle away. Not necessarily the Man City game, but I think Newcastle away, which they play after that, will be pivotal.
You think it's advantage City.
I think that everything turns on the game against at the Etihad, because I think Manchester City, irrespective of the fact they may have Brighton as their rearranged game, are in such a vein of form that they will win most of the games that they play in. And if they beat Arsenal, they will go to the top of the league.
Yeah.
If they do not, Arsenal will retain the advantage. And I just think that everything has always been based upon that. I look at the last two games. I think they've been poor in significant periods of both of those two games. You've got to give credit to the opposition, and certainly Liverpool, because Arsenal were as bad against Liverpool in the last 60 minutes of that game as they were against West Ham. But they were made to be bad by the irresistible play that Liverpool put them under pressure. I still think that Arsenal have a very, very good chance. And again, if they go to the Etihad and they do not get beat, I think they'll win the league. But that's a big if, because I think Man City's engines have started and they're handing out beatings to everybody and anyone that stands in front of them.
Are we witnessing a bit of mental fragility here, though, amongst Arteta's players? In fact, before you answer that, Simon, maybe they're lacking a ruthless mindset. This was Mikel Arteta on that.
We need that ruthless mindset in that moment to go and kill a team. When a team is there for the given, we have to kill it, and today we haven't done it. And when you don't do that in the Premier League, at some stage it's going to turn around, they're going to have some momentum, and then you have to defend.
I think what they've done is, certainly in the game yesterday against West Ham, when they went 2-0 up, West Ham were flat to the ball, so they were out the game. What they should have done, instead of saying we're going to keep the ball at the back and kill the game and slow the game down, just kept going after West Ham. If they'd have done that, they'd have probably got 4, maybe even 5. But they didn't do that. They sat off and they allowed Declan Rice to squeeze up the pitch a bit and get a press on, and that's where the goals come from. And then momentum changed.
Why would they do that, though, Stuart?
I think it's a natural thing to do. You think, well, we're 2 goals up, we're comfortable at the back, this is the best way to do it. All it done was eventually said to West Ham, well, listen, you can't sit back there in shape all the time, you're going to have to come out and push on to us. And by doing that, they really sort of unhinged Arsenal.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it in Sky last night. I don't know if you saw it, Simon, when Roy Keane was speaking to Dave Jones and Neville, and Gary Neville claimed second place would still be an achievement for Arsenal. And Roy was like, absolutely not having that. No way. I think I'm in Camp Keane, because now if Arsenal don't win it, this will be looked upon as a major disappointment, I think. Even although, second place. But it's there to be won. And they've been leading the way for so long. I mean, when you look at it, if City go on and win the league, Arsenal has spent the most days on the top of the table for a team failing to become champions in the Premier League era. They've been on top for 235 days.
Yeah.
At the end of that, if you don't win it...
Well, of course, but I mean, Gary is also correct that, you know, if you look at it, if you take it in isolation and say to Arsenal, would you have taken finishing second in the league at the beginning of the season, most of their fans would have gone, oh yes, and so probably would have Arteta. But of course the circumstances are as they are now. You know, you saw them get beat by Manchester City at the Emirates, the Emirates, and ultimately outclassed in the second half.
Yeah,
you've seen them bounce back. Look, I think there's merit in both arguments. Roy Keane will play that card all the time, you know, in terms of winning at every cost, and ultimately winning is the outcome that you expect. But also, if you take him out of that character and say exponential growth, the development of Arsenal, and the side that Arsenal are against Man City, the finished article. Manchester City are the finished article, and more than the finished article, they then put a cherry on top of the bleeding cake. They put Haaland on there to come in and bang 60 goals in this season, which is what he's likely to do. So with that in mind, I don't think there's anything that Arsenal can take away from this season other than a great sense of encouragement and pride. Is it theirs to win? Of course it is.
Yeah.
Will they be disappointed if they lose? Will it demolish the football club and send them into spiralling into an orbit of depression and not being able to bounce back? No.
I think will it disappoint them? Well, it will massively disappoint them.
If you've been top of the league, whoever you are, for a period of time, you're going to be disappointed if you don't do it.
It's bound to.
The challenge is for Arsenal to be able to react to the circumstances. Then they've had two scenarios where they've gone 2-0 up against Liverpool, 2-0 up against West Ham. In both occasions, some people will argue they've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. I would argue that Liverpool, in that particular 60 minutes, would have given anybody a headache. Yeah. Anybody, whoever they were.
We're talking about criticising Arsenal based on probably the last 2 games where they absolutely blew the opposition away from home, Liverpool away, West Ham away. Not particularly easy fixtures. And on top of that, you roll the clock back till last summer. They're talking about Declan Rice going and signing for Arsenal. If I'd have said that to you last summer, you'd have said you're crazy. Why would he go to Arsenal? But it doesn't sound so crazy now because of what they've achieved this season.
I would still maintain though, Stuart, it will be a huge disappointment if they don't win the thing. I'm not in Camp Neville that still a wonderful season. No, it's not. It's not. It can't be, surely. When you've been leading the way for so long, you've got to get over the line now.
Yeah, but that's fair. It's
Look
fair
back in
saying that.
2023, that was a year that we came so close, but we had exponential growth. Nah. That was the year you blew it.
No, it might be their biggest time. I mean, next year they could finish 4th or 5th, for all we know. If Liverpool comes stronger, Chelsea comes stronger.
Yeah. I think with the mindset that Arsenal have now got post the European Super League from the ownership model and Arteta, I think if they were to finish second, I think he'd be able to convince the owners to go again, harder, stronger, bigger, deeper, with more resource. So they've got more quality in certain parts of the park where at times they've missed out on opportunities. And, you know, with no due disrespect, they've had to have people. He's a good player, but he's not at the top of the tree. People like Nketiah carrying the can for them, carrying the attack for them in certain parts of the season. I think that Arsenal, if they finish second, which is still a long way from being the case, I think the ownership model behind it would go, disappointed, opportunity missed, let's grab the next one.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.